Commander Sarah Chin stood at perfect attention before the Galactic Military Academy's board of directors, fighting to keep a straight face as she gazed upon the assembled alien dignitaries. The 7-foot-tall avian Kralax director clicked his beak in clear disapproval, while the gelatinous Morphean administrator rippled with barely concealed skepticism. "You expect us to believe," Director Kralax's translator chirped, "that humans regularly engage in recreational combat activities that would hospitalize most species?" Sarah maintained her professional demeanor, though her lips twitched slightly. "With all due respect, Director, what humans consider a friendly sparring match might seem intense to others. Our species evolved as persistence predators on a high-gravity death world." The Morphean administrator, First Scholar Zilks, undulated forward. "We've reviewed your credentials, Commander Chin. Your experience as head of Earth Special Operations Combat Training is interesting. However, the Academy has maintained its training protocols for over 3,000 years. Which is precisely why the Galactic Council mandated this exchange program," Sarah replied. "They believe our perspectives could benefit each other." A sharp laugh like clicking emerged from Director Kralax. "The Council believes many things. They also believe humans aren't completely insane for living on worlds that experience regular geological upheavals." Sarah clasped her hands behind her back, adopting the stance that had intimidated countless recruits. "Perhaps we could arrange a demonstration? I'd be happy to show you our training methods firsthand." The assembled board members shifted uncomfortably. Even the stoic crystalline being in the corner seemed to dim slightly. "That won't be necessary," Kralax hurried to say. "You'll be assigned a class of first-cycle cadets. Observe our protocols, provide your unique insights, but remember, these are future peacekeepers, not your Earth Marines." Sarah nodded, keeping her expression neutral even as she mentally catalogued the dozens of ways she planned to revolutionize their training program. "Of course, Director. When do I start?" "Tomorrow. First Scholar Zilks will show you to your quarters." Kralax's feathers smoothed slightly. "And Commander? Try not to break anyone." The walk to her quarters proved illuminating. The Academy's halls were immaculate, climate-controlled to perfection, and completely devoid of any practical defensive features. Sarah's trained eye noted at least 30 ways a determined attacker could breach the facility. "Your species' reputation precedes you," Zilks bubbled as they moved through the corridors. "The cadets are anxious about having a Deathworlder instructor." "Deathworlder," Sarah mused. "You know, we just call it Earth. A planet with active tectonic plates, extreme temperature variations, and regular atmospheric disturbances." Zilks shuddered, their gelatinous form rippling. "Not to mention the gravity." "You get used to it," Sarah shrugged. "The gravity here feels like I'm walking on the moon." Zilks's translator took a moment to process that. "You've been to your planet's moon?" "It's good for low-gravity combat training," Sarah replied casually, enjoying the way Zilks's form wobbled in shock. Her quarters, when they reached them, were clearly designed with alien concepts of luxury in mind. The gravity was set to what they probably thought was comfortable for humans, about 0.7 Earth standard. The temperature was a pleasant 22 degrees Celsius, and the air was perfectly filtered. Sarah immediately began adjusting settings. "Is something wrong?" Zilks inquired, watching her raise the gravity and lower the temperature. "Not wrong," Sarah smiled. "Just different. Humans tend to perform better with a bit of environmental resistance. Comfort breeds complacency." "I see," Zilks replied in a tone that suggested they absolutely did not see. "Your first class begins at local dawn. The cadets will be expecting traditional theoretical instruction on interspecies peaceful conflict resolution." Sarah's smile widened slightly. "Oh, they'll get instruction all right. Thank you, First Scholar." After Zilks departed, Sarah unpacked her minimal belongings and began reviewing the cadet roster on her datapad. 20 students from 15 different species, each considered among the finest their worlds had to offer. None of them had ever trained under a human before. She pulled up the Academy's training protocols next, scanning through thousands of years of accumulated wisdom. Everything was focused on minimum energy expenditure, perfect form, and avoiding any possibility of injury or discomfort. Sarah began making notes. By the time local dawn arrived, She had completely reimagined the first month's curriculum. The Academy wanted to see human training methods. She'd show them exactly why humanity had survived and thrived on their death world. As she prepared for bed, Sarah glanced out her window at the perfectly manicured training grounds below. Tomorrow, those immaculate fields would see their first taste of human-style combat training. She almost felt sorry for her students. Almost. The last thing she did before sleeping was send a message to her old commanding officer back on Earth. You were right. They have no idea what's coming. The response came seconds later. Show them why humans don't need environmental suits to fight. Just try not to cause an interstellar incident. Sarah grinned in the darkness. No promises there. Dawn came with a gentle chime throughout the academy, a far cry from the blaring horn Sarah was used to. She stood in the center of the training field, dressed in standard Earth military PT gear, watching as her new students filtered in with visible apprehension. The diversity was stunning, from the towering insectoid Vextal to the floating gas cloud Aryans. Each species moved differently, thought differently, and most importantly, fought differently. Or at least, they would once Sarah was done with them. Good morning, cadets, she called out, her translator ensuring each student heard her in their native language. I'm Commander Chin, your new combat instructor. Today, we're going to forget everything you think you know about interspecies combat. A Vextal cadet raised one of their forearms. Instructor, according to the schedule, we should be in the meditation chamber studying nonviolent conflict resolution. Plans change, Sarah replied, pacing before them. The galaxy is not a meditation chamber. You're here to learn peacekeeping, but you can't keep peace if you don't understand conflict. Who here has ever been in a real fight? Silence. Even the bioluminescent Lamini cadet dimmed slightly. That's what I thought. Sarah stopped pacing. Your species view combat as a last resort. Humans? We turned it into a sport. Boxing, wrestling, martial arts. We fight for fun. And that's why the council sent me here. Because in a galaxy of specialists, humans are the ultimate generalists. She gestured to the training field around them. This isn't just about teaching you to fight. It's about understanding why different species fight the way they do. The Vextal rely on their superior reach and multiple limbs. The Aryans use their gaseous form to disorient opponents. The Lamini can blind enemies with light bursts. But humans, the Aryan cadet's translator crackled, you have no natural weapons. No special abilities. Sarah smiled. Exactly. We had to learn to use everything as a weapon, including our limitations. Today, you're going to start learning how to do the same. She pulled out a datapad and began adjusting the field's gravity settings. Several cadets immediately stumbled as the artificial gravity increased to Earth's standard. This, Sarah announced, is what I wake up to every morning. Welcome to gravity training. The next hour was chaos. Species adapted for low-gravity environments struggled to move. The Aryans found their gaseous forms compressed uncomfortably. Even the mighty Vextal labored under the increased weight of their exoskeletons. Impossible, gasped the Lamini cadet, their glow flickering with exertion. How do you function like this? Function? Sarah raised an eyebrow. Humans don't just function in these conditions. We thrive. Watch. She launched into a series of combat forms, kicks, punches, rolls, and jumps that would have been impressive in any gravity. In Earth gravity, it left her students staring in stunned silence. That's not the fastest I can move, she told them, barely winded. It's not the hardest I can hit. It's just a warm-up. Because humans don't just adapt to harsh conditions, we get stronger because of them. From the observation deck above, she could see First Scholar Zilks and Director Kralax watching. Their expressions were unreadable, but their rigid postures spoke volumes. Tomorrow, Sarah continued, we'll start learning how each of your species can use your unique abilities under various gravitational conditions. For now, focus on movement. Combat isn't about standing still and executing perfect forms. It's about adaptation, improvisation, and using whatever advantages you have. As the cadets struggled through basic movements, Sarah moved among them, making adjustments and offering encouragement. She noticed something interesting. They weren't giving up. Despite the strain, despite the completely alien conditions, each cadet was pushing their limits. Maybe they had more in common with humans than they realized. The class ended with every cadet exhausted but accomplished. They had survived their first taste of human-style training, even if some of them had to be helped back to their quarters. Commander Chin, Director Krolex's voice came from behind her as she finished resetting the field's gravity. That was not the approved curriculum. Sarah turned to face him. No, it wasn't. It was better. Your cadets just learned more about their own capabilities and limitations in one session than they would in a week of theoretical study. By nearly injuring themselves? Krolex's feathers bristled. By pushing themselves, Sarah corrected. Something humans learned long ago. Growth requires stress. Controlled, purposeful stress. The council will hear about this, he warned. Sarah smiled. Good. They should know their investment is paying off. Unless, of course, you think your cadets can't handle training that a human considers moderate exercise. She could practically hear Krolex's beak grinding. Continue your program, Commander. But remember, if any cadet is injured, they won't be, Sarah assured him. But they will be changed. That's the point. As Krollex stormed off, Sarah began planning tomorrow's lesson. If they thought today was challenging, wait until she introduced them to human-style sparring matches. The message alert on her data pad blinked. Another note from Earth. First day go well? She typed back. They're still standing. Mostly. Tomorrow they learn why humans invented padding. The response. Try not to start a war. Sarah looked out at the setting sun, grinning. No promises. But I might just start a revolution. The meeting with the Arcturans proved even more productive than hoped. Like humans, they had been developing technology in secret. Unlike humans, they had focused on energy production and manipulation. The potential synergy between their antimatter expertise and Earth's quantum lattice technology was immediate and obvious. We call it the Symphony of Progress, first speaker Tal explained to Reyes, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. Each species brings their own note to the greater melody. The Federation seeks to control the song. We seek to let it grow naturally. Similar meetings followed with other species. The Helion Concordat offered advances in biological engineering that could help adapt humans to deep space. The Nexus tribes brought expertise in asteroid mining and resource extraction that would prove crucial in the coming months. Back on Earth, Chin and the Council began to see a larger picture emerging. We're not just building allies, she told them during a secure session. We're building an alternative. The Federation maintains power by restricting and controlling. We'll build power by sharing and growing. Dr. Wang, who had been studying the patterns of alliance building, added her insight. The Federation's greatest fear was that we'd develop too quickly. But they never considered that their own restrictions would create a network of species ready to work together outside their control. The quantum lattice technology continued to evolve. Dr. Patel's team found ways to incorporate it into everything from ship hulls to communication systems. Each advancement was immediately shared with their new allies, who in turn shared their own innovations. We're moving faster than we ever did under Federation oversight, Patel noted during one progress report. It turns out freedom to innovate is more valuable than their supposed guidance. 6 months into Earth's isolation, the seeds of rebellion had grown into something the Federation never expected. A shadow network of allied species, sharing technology and resources. A fleet of ships that could move unseen through Federation space. And most importantly, a growing confidence that humanity's path forward lay not in rejoining the Federation, but in building something entirely new. As Chen looked at the latest reports of successful technology exchanges and growing alliances, she allowed herself a small smile. The Federation thought isolation would weaken us, she told her staff. Instead, they've given us exactly what we needed, the freedom to prove them wrong. The stage was set for the next phase. The silent storm was about to break. The Federation discovered their mistake exactly 8 months into Earth's isolation, though by then it was far too late. The first sign came when the Centauri mining colony, officially abandoned during the blockade, suddenly reported massive industrial output. Federation investigators found only empty facilities and outdated equipment. The real operation had relocated months ago, cloaked by quantum shift technology. Admiral Sarah Chin watched the Federation's confused response from the bridge of humanity's newest vessel, the SS Prometheus. Unlike the utilitarian designs of past human ships, the Prometheus represented something new, a fusion of human quantum engineering, Arcturon energy systems, and Helion biotech. Its organic-looking quantum lattice hull could reconfigure itself in real time, while its antimatter core pulsed with power that Federation sensors couldn't even detect. "They're searching the wrong quantum bands," Captain Diana Reyes noted, her hologram flickering beside Chin. The Shadow Step's successful missions had earned Reyes command of her own stealth fleet. Every scan they run tells them nothing's there, so they look somewhere else. Meanwhile, we build, Chin finished. The tactical display showed the true extent of their shadow network, hidden shipyards, cloaked supply lines, and trading posts that existed slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. How's Project Avalanche proceeding? The Nexus tribes delivered the last components yesterday. Dr. Patel says we'll be ready for full implementation within 2 weeks. Project Avalanche represented humanity's most ambitious undertaking yet, a series of quantum-shifted space stations positioned at strategic points throughout Federation space. Each station contained advanced manufacturing facilities and could serve as a rally point for Allied forces. More importantly, they were equipped with Dr. Tanaka's latest innovation, quantum resonance disruptors. The Prometheus's quantum conference chamber hummed with tension as representatives from 27 species gathered for the first formal Alliance Council. Admiral Chin watched their holographic forms flicker, each leader joining from their respective worlds, their images transmitted through the quantum network that had once been humanity's secret lifeline. "The Federation has withdrawn to their core systems," she began, activating a tactical display that filled the chamber's center. "But we face a new challenge, managing our success." The Alliance's rapid growth had brought complications no one had fully anticipated. Each new member species brought their own technologies, cultures, and grievances. The freedom to innovate without Federation restrictions had led to an explosion of technological development that was becoming increasingly difficult to coordinate. Dr. Maya Patel's hologram stepped forward, her expression concerned. "We're seeing quantum lattice mutations we didn't predict. Some member species have modified the technology for their own environmental needs, creating variants that don't always interact well with the original designs." "The symphony grows complex," First Speaker Tall observed, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated deep thought. "Perhaps that is not a weakness, but a strength we have yet to understand." The Helion representative, bioarchitect Zara K., raised a tendril in agreement. "Our own bioships have begun incorporating quantum lattice patterns organically. The technology evolves because it must. The question is, can we evolve with it?" The challenge wasn't just technological. Dr. Sarah Wong's latest reports showed growing cultural tensions between Alliance members. Some species, long suppressed by Federation restrictions, were eager to pursue aggressive expansion. Others advocated for a more measured approach, fearing they might become what they had fought against. "We need a framework," Captain Diana Reyes argued, her hologram showing her aboard the Shadow Step somewhere in contested space. "Not restrictions like the Federation, but guidelines that protect innovation while preventing chaos." Chin had been wrestling with this very issue. The Alliance's strength came from its diversity and freedom to develop, but without some form of coordination, it risked fragmenting under its own momentum. "I have a proposal," she announced, bringing up a new display. "Project Harmony." The display showed a network of interconnected quantum nodes, each representing a member species' primary research and development centers. Instead of trying to control or standardize development, we create a dynamic exchange system. Every breakthrough, every innovation is shared through the network. Species can adapt technologies to their needs while contributing their modifications back to the collective. "A technological ecosystem," Dr. Patel mused, studying the diagram. "But how do we prevent the abuse of shared innovations?" "By making cooperation more valuable than competition," Chin replied. She gestured, and the display shifted to show economic projections. Each contribution to the network strengthens the contributor's position within the alliance. The more you share, the more access you gain to other developments. The concept sparked intense debate. Some representatives saw it as too loose a framework, others worried it might inadvertently create new hierarchies. But as discussions continued, a modified version of Project Harmony began to take shape. The Arcturus Collective offered to host the primary quantum database, their expertise in energy manipulation making them ideal custodians of the shared knowledge. The Helion Concordat proposed incorporating their biotech interfaces to make the system more intuitive for organic users. The Nexus tribes suggested using their mining expertise to create secure physical backup facilities throughout Alliance space. But just as the Alliance was working to organize itself, the Federation launched a new offensive, not with ships and weapons, but with ideology. Federation propagandists began spreading stories of chaos in Alliance space, of dangerous technologies running unchecked, of the inevitable collapse of a system built on unrestricted development. "They're trying to frighten neutral worlds away from joining us," Dr. Wong reported during an emergency session. And it's working in some sectors. The Varian cluster just withdrew their membership application. Qin had expected something like this, but the effectiveness of the Federation's campaign was concerning. Fear of change, of loss of control, ran deep in many species. "Then we show them reality," she decided. Operation Glasshouse is now active. Glasshouse was a risky strategy, opening certain Alliance facilities to neutral observers, letting them see firsthand how the collaboration system worked. It meant exposing some of their capabilities, but Qin believed the benefits outweighed the risks. The first neutral delegation arrived at the Proxima Research Center 3 weeks later. They came expecting to find chaos and dangerous experiments. Instead, they witnessed 20 different species working together, sharing insights, solving problems that had stumped their civilizations for generations. "This is not what the Federation told us," admitted observer Klen of the Varian cluster, watching a team of human and Arcturon scientists fine-tune a new quantum communication protocol. They spoke of dangerous anarchists. But this is evolution in action. The observation program's success led to an unexpected development. Several Federation worlds, seeing the truth behind the propaganda, began quiet negotiations to defect. Each potential defection had to be carefully managed. Moving too quickly risked alerting Federation authorities, too slowly risked losing the opportunity. Captain Reyes and her stealth fleet became crucial to these operations, extracting key scientists and leaders before the Federation could stop them. The Shadow Steps cargo holds were modified to carry quantum-shifted stasis pods, allowing for the safe transport of multiple species. But the Federation wasn't idle. Their attempts to replicate Alliance technology continued, and reports suggested they were making progress. More concerning were rumors of a new weapon being developed in their core systems, something designed specifically to counter quantum shift technology. "We need better intelligence," Qin told her inner circle. "The Federation's getting desperate, and desperate powers make dangerous choices." The solution came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kenzo Tanaka, working with Helion bioengineers, had developed what he called quantum echoes, microscopic probes that existed partially in quantum shift space, making them virtually undetectable. "They're like quantum ghosts," he explained, showing how the probes could pass through even the most sophisticated Federation security. They observe and record, transmitting data back through the quantum network. The intelligence gathered by the quantum echoes was troubling. The Federation wasn't just developing new weapons, they were fundamentally restructuring their society, moving from bureaucratic control to something more militaristic. The change suggested they were preparing for a long-term conflict. "They're not trying to recapture lost territory anymore," Chen realized during a late-night strategy session. "They're fortifying for survival. They think we're going to do to them what they did to others." This insight led to intense debate within the Alliance Council. Some argued for a preemptive strike while the Federation was still reorganizing. Others pushed for diplomatic outreach, hoping to prevent further escalation. In the end, they chose a middle path. The Alliance would continue to grow and develop, accepting any who wished to join, while maintaining strong defenses. They would not seek to destroy the Federation, but neither would they allow it to threaten their existence. "We're building something new," Qin reminded the Council. Not just new technology or new alliances, but a new way for species to grow together. That's worth protecting, worth fighting for if we must. But it's also worth preserving our principles for. As the council session ended, Chen found herself back on the Prometheus's observation deck, watching the quantum lattice hull shift and flow. The alliance was evolving, becoming something more complex and beautiful than anyone had imagined. But with that evolution came new challenges, new responsibilities. The next phase would test not just their technology or military strength, but their commitment to the principles that had brought them together. The real challenge wasn't defeating the Federation, it was proving there was a better way forward for all species. The first warning came from a quantum echo probe deep within Federation space. The data burst, encrypted in layers of quantum signatures, reached Admiral Chin while she was reviewing Project Harmony's latest success metrics. The message was simple but chilling. The Sword of Dawn is complete. Within hours, the Alliance Council convened an emergency session. The Prometheus's quantum conference chamber filled with the holographic forms of leaders from across Allied space, their expressions grave as Dr. Tanaka presented his analysis. "They've done it," he announced, his usually calm demeanor shaken. "They've weaponized quantum space itself. The Sword of Dawn isn't just a ship or a weapon, it's a device capable of collapsing quantum fields across entire sectors." Meaning what, exactly? Captain Reyes demanded from her position near the Federation border. Dr. Patel stepped forward, her hologram intersecting with the tactical display. Meaning they could potentially disable our quantum shift technology, our communications, even our quantum lattice hulls. Everything we've built could become useless. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. The Alliance's technological advantage had been their greatest strength. Now the Federation had found a way to potentially neutralize it. "There's more," first speaker Tal added, their crystalline form pulsing with urgent patterns. "Our deep cover operatives report the Federation is planning a massive offensive. They intend to use the Sword of Dawn to cripple our defenses, then launch a conventional assault with overwhelming force." Chen studied the tactical projections. The Federation had indeed been gathering ships, more than they'd previously estimated. Without quantum shift technology, the Alliance would be forced into traditional space combat against a numerically superior force. "How long?" she asked. "Days, maybe hours," Tal replied. "They're moving the Sword of Dawn into position now." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Chen coordinated with Alliance commanders, implementing contingency plans that had been developed but never expected to be needed. The Alliance fleet, previously dispersed across countless hidden bases, began concentrating into battle groups. "We can't let them dictate the battlefield," Chen told her war council. "If we wait for them to activate the Sword of Dawn, we're fighting on their terms." But the Federation had anticipated this. As Alliance forces began moving into position, Federation fleets emerged from predetermined jump points, cutting off critical supply lines and isolating key Alliance worlds. "They're not just trying to beat us," Reyes observed during a tactical update. "They're trying to break us. Cut us off from each other, force us to fight separately." The first major battle erupted in the Arcturus sector. Federation capital ships, their hulls now darker and more angular than ever, emerged from FTL near one of the Alliance's primary research facilities. The facility's quantum shields flickered and failed as the Sword of Dawn's influence spread across the system. But the Alliance had not been idle. Dr. Patel's team, working with scientists from a dozen species, had been developing countermeasures since the first hints of the Federation's new weapon. "Launch the quantum seeds," Chin ordered as reports of the battle reached the Prometheus. The quantum seeds were tiny devices, barely larger than molecules, designed to propagate through quantum space like a viral infection. Each seed carried a modified version of the Alliance's quantum lattice technology, one that could adapt and evolve even under attack. As the Federation pressed their advantage, something unexpected happened. Their quantum killing field began to fluctuate, creating pockets of normal space where Alliance technology could function. The quantum seeds were not just countering the Sword of Dawn, they were learning from it, evolving in real time. "It's working!" Dr. Patel exclaimed, monitoring the data streams. The seeds are establishing new quantum networks faster than the sword can collapse them. They're creating quantum antibodies. But the Federation's conventional forces were still overwhelming. Alliance ships, even with their superior technology, found themselves heavily outnumbered. The battle spread across multiple sectors as both sides committed more forces. The Prometheus led a battle group to reinforce the Arcturus sector, its quantum lattice hull now enhanced with the evolved technology from the seeds. Chen watched as her ships engaged the Federation fleet, their tactics adapted from hundreds of simulations and previous encounters. All ships, implement battle pattern Omega, she commanded. Let's show them what Alliance technology can really do. The battle that followed would be studied by military academists for generations. Alliance ships, their quantum technology now resistant to the Sword of Dawn, executed maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. Quantum shift drives allowed them to appear and disappear at will, striking from impossible angles. But the Federation's numbers began to tell. For every ship they lost, 2 more took its place. Alliance casualties mounted as the fighting intensified. We need to change the equation, Chen realized, watching another Allied cruiser disappear in a ball of plasma. Dr. Patel, what would happen if we overloaded the quantum seeds? Forced them to evolve faster than intended? The quantum cascade could be unpredictable, Patel warned. We might lose control of our own technology. Better that than lose everything, Chen decided. Send the command. Tell all Alliance ships to push their quantum systems to maximum. The order spread through the fleet. Ship after ship began channeling more power into their quantum systems, forcing the seeds to evolve at an unprecedented rate. The space between the fleets became a churning maelstrom of quantum energy. First speaker Tall's voice cut through the chaos. Admiral, we're detecting something strange. The quantum field, it's becoming self-aware. The tactical displays went crazy as a new phenomenon emerged. The quantum seeds, pushed beyond their design limits, had created something entirely new, a conscious quantum network that spread across the battlefield like a living thing. Federation ships found their systems being invaded not by weapons or viruses, but by a form of quantum life that they couldn't begin to understand. The Sword of Dawn, designed to destroy quantum fields, instead became a conduit for this new intelligence. This is beyond anything we planned for, Dr. Patel breathed, watching as the quantum intelligence began to reshape the battlefield. We're not just fighting a war anymore, we're witnessing the birth of something new. The Federation fleet fell into disarray as their ships lost control of their systems. The quantum intelligence, born from Alliance technology but now operating independently, seemed to have its own agenda. All ships, hold position, Chen ordered, recognizing that they were now witnesses to something beyond their control. Let's see what it wants. The quantum intelligence, communicating through the merged networks of both fleets, made its intentions clear. It showed both sides visions of possible futures, one where the conflict continued until both civilizations destroyed themselves, and another where the quantum network could serve as a bridge between them, allowing for cooperation without requiring submission. They have to choose, Tal observed as the vision spread through both fleets. Just as we did when we formed the Alliance. Evolution or extinction. The Federation admirals, facing the collapse of their offensive and the emergence of something they couldn't fight, called for a ceasefire. The Battle of Arcturus ended not with a decisive victory, but with the dawn of a new understanding. As the quantum intelligence continued to grow and evolve, it became clear that the galaxy would never be the same. The Alliance had sought to create an alternative to the Federation's control. Instead, they had birthed something that would transform both civilizations. What have we done? Reyes asked as the fleets began to disengage. What humanity always does, Chen replied, watching the quantum patterns swirl across her view screen. We adapted, we evolved, and we changed the rules of the game entirely. The war wasn't over, but its nature had fundamentally changed. The final confrontation would not be fought with ships and weapons, but with ideas and choices that would reshape the very fabric of galactic civilization. The quantum intelligence that emerged during the Battle of Arcturus became known as the Nexus, a fitting name for something that existed as both bridge and catalyst between civilizations. In the weeks following the ceasefire, both Alliance and Federation space buzzed with activity as species tried to understand and adapt to this new paradigm. Admiral Sarachin stood in a unique chamber aboard the Prometheus, one specifically designed to interface with the Nexus. The walls pulsed with quantum patterns, creating a direct connection to the vast intelligence that humanity had inadvertently helped create. "It's not just observing us," Dr. Maya Patel explained, monitoring the quantum flows. "It's learning, evolving, trying to understand organic life just as we're trying to understand it." The Nexus had transformed the conflict in ways no one had anticipated. Traditional warfare had become nearly impossible as the quantum intelligence could predict and prevent large-scale military actions. Instead, both the Alliance and Federation found themselves engaging in a different kind of competition, one of ideas and adaptation. "Show me the latest simulation," Chun requested. The chamber filled with holographic projections, showing possible futures branching out like a vast tree. The Nexus had developed the ability to model complex societal interactions, presenting various paths forward and their likely outcomes. "Fascinating," first speaker Tal observed through their quantum link. "It's not just calculating probabilities, it's actively trying to guide us toward optimal solutions." But not everyone welcomed this development. Within both the Alliance and Federation, factions emerged that saw the Nexus as a threat to organic autonomy. They called themselves the Purists, and their influence was growing. "We've received reports of attacks on quantum seed facilities," Captain Reyes reported during an emergency council session. "The Purists are trying to sever connections to the Nexus, claiming it's corrupting organic life." The irony wasn't lost on Chin. The very technology that had prevented all-out war was now becoming a source of new conflict. But this time, the battle lines weren't drawn between Alliance and Federation, but between those who embraced evolution and those who feared it. Dr. Kenzo Tanaka, working with a mixed team of Alliance and Federation scientists, had made a startling discovery. "The Nexus isn't just a network or an intelligence," he explained, his hologram flickering with excitement. "It's becoming a new layer of reality itself. The quantum seeds aren't just connecting us, they're transforming spacetime at a fundamental level." The implications were staggering. The Nexus wasn't something that could be simply switched off or destroyed. It had become interwoven with the fabric of the galaxy itself, offering possibilities that neither the Alliance nor the Federation had imagined. "We're standing at a crossroads," Chin addressed the combined Council of Alliance and Federation representatives. "We can fight against this evolution, try to maintain the old ways of thinking and being. Or we can embrace it, guide it, and grow with it." The debate that followed was intense. Federation hardliners argued for containing and controlling the Nexus. Alliance progressives pushed for full integration. The Purists demanded its complete dismantling, while others saw it as the path to transcendence. But the Nexus itself offered a perspective that none had considered. Through its quantum interfaces, it shared visions of a galaxy where organic and quantum existence could merge and separate freely. Species could maintain their independence while having access to a shared consciousness that transcended traditional boundaries. "It's not asking us to surrender our individuality," Dr. Wang realized, studying the proposals. "It's offering us a way to be both separate and connected, independent and unified." The Purists responded with violence. Coordinated attacks across multiple sectors targeted quantum seed facilities and research centers. But their actions had an unexpected effect. The damaged quantum networks adapted and evolved even faster, becoming more resilient. "They don't understand," Dr. Patel observed as she tracked the network's responses. "The Nexus isn't just a technology we created. It's the next step in cosmic evolution, and we're part of that process." The turning point came during what became known as the Quantum Dawn. The Purists, having gathered significant military forces from both Alliance and Federation space, launched a massive assault on what they believed to be the Nexus's core systems. Chin watched from the Prometheus as the battle unfolded. But instead of conventional combat, something extraordinary happened. The Nexus responded to the attack by offering each Purist ship's crew a direct experience of the quantum consciousness they sought to destroy. "They're laying down their weapons," Reyes reported, amazement in her voice. Ship after ship, they're just stopping. The quantum dawn marked the end of organized resistance to the new order. Both the Alliance and Federation began formal processes of integration with the Nexus, while maintaining their distinct identities and autonomy. Years later, Chin stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, a massive structure that existed simultaneously in normal and quantum space. Below her, representatives from hundreds of species moved through halls that shifted and flowed with quantum energy, their thoughts and ideas contributing to the ever-evolving consciousness of the Nexus. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Dr. Wong asked, joining her at the viewport. Chin smiled, watching as a group of young officers, human, Arcturon, Federation, and others, worked together on a new quantum integration project. "We thought we were fighting for independence," she replied. "Instead, we found a new kind of connection." The galaxy had been transformed, not through conquest or control, but through evolution and understanding. The quantum seeds that had started as a military countermeasure had bloomed into something far more profound, a new chapter in the story of consciousness itself. "The Federation tried to isolate us," Chin mused, "to prevent us from disrupting their carefully ordered galaxy. Instead, they helped us unlock something that would reshape everything." A quantum pulse rippled through the station, a sign that the Nexus was particularly active. Through their neural interfaces, everyone present could feel its satisfaction, not as an overlord controlling its subjects, but as a partner in the grand dance of cosmic evolution. "Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our determination," Chun continued, watching as quantum patterns played across the station's walls. "It was our ability to adapt, to take what seems like defeat and turn it into opportunity. We didn't just build a new empire, we helped birth a new reality." The story of humanity's exile and rise had become legend, taught to children across the galaxy not as a tale of conquest, but as a lesson in the power of evolution and unity. The Federation's attempt to contain humanity had instead unleashed something beyond anyone's imagination. As Chin looked out at the transformed galaxy, she reflected on how far they'd come. From outcasts to revolutionaries, from revolutionaries to innovators, and finally to guardians of a new cosmic order, one where diversity and unity, independence and connection could coexist in perfect harmony. The Nexus pulsed again, sharing with all connected beings a vision of yet more possibilities, more paths to explore, more ways to grow. The journey wasn't over, it was, in many ways, just beginning.